Hey guys, how you doing? This is Mike McCormick with Advanced Criminology in Owings Mills, Maryland. Today is February 8th, 2019, and tonight's topic will be discussing today's shooting at Frederick Douglass High School, adjacent to, right across the street rather, from Mondawmin Mall. Shooting happened this afternoon there at the school where an individual, 25-year-old man, is alleged. I'm going by some of the reports that came out today on local news media that came out that said that individual came on the school premises property, walked in, unchallenged obviously, just walked in the door, and I'll talk about that in a moment. Confronted a staffer there. There was an argument, and the suspect pulled his weapon and shot the individual in the face. The suspect escaped on foot. He was eventually apprehended by local authorities, and the individual who was shot, the victim who was shot, is in stable condition at shock trauma. Now, those of you who are not from the Baltimore area, who are not familiar with the controversy, let me update you. The controversy has been this. In the state of Maryland, there are many school jurisdictions that have officers, school resource officers, SROs for short, that are allowed to carry their weapons during the school day. Baltimore City is the only jurisdiction, Baltimore City school system is the only jurisdiction that does not let the 90 school resource officers carry their weapons inside the school. They can carry them in and around outside the school, but they can't bring them inside the school premises. They have to keep them in a locked container or a locked box. That's unbelievable. When you look at the national scene in terms of school shootings in the past 15 years, the commonality is that someone's able to actually get on the property and get into the school to create the carnage that they end up creating. And so a lot of jurisdictions and states have learned their lessons and have hardened school targets and created more security and a safe environment for their students. Baltimore, for some reason, is, they're back in the Stone Age with this particular decision. This decision was made on January 22nd. It went to a vote at the City Council, and the vote was 10-0 in favor of the officers not being able to carry their own weapons on school property inside the school during the day. Well, let's face it, not too much is going to happen inside of a school at night. Most of the school shootings that I know of, that you know of, they don't happen at night. They happen during the day when the school is full of people, where the most damage can be done. Now, granted, in this particular instance here, the individual had an axe to grind, obviously, with the staffer. They knew each other, or one knew of another, and subsequently, it was only a situation where the particular suspect went in looking for one person and wasn't interested in shooting anybody else. Okay. So basically the students and staff inside of that school caught a break because it just wasn't a crazy man who went into school and started shooting up the school. So it went to a vote. I'll get back to that. Went to a vote 10-0. So 10 people from the city council, for some reason or other, I don't see how you can get a 10-0 vote without somebody contemplating, well, maybe there should be, let's look at this thing a little bit more. One person out of the 10, I'm sure, had reservations about voting. But like anything else in life, lots of times you have people who vote just because someone else voted and they didn't want to look out of place by not, going along to get along with the rest of the city council members. So let's look at some of the controversy surrounding this issue with arming city school resource officers. Comes from city council, where they're indicating that they don't want to upset students if students see a weapon carried by an officer. Well, I don't see, because there's no statistics, there's nothing that they presented at that meeting that says that students are more likely less than not to, listen to me, more likely less than not, are more likely to be upset when they see a weapon. This is Baltimore City we're talking about. A lot of students have seen weapons in their neighborhoods. They know what they look like. So it's not, and look who's carrying it. You're talking about someone who's trained in the protection of others. And so it's not like it's a hoodlum carrying a gun where you just don't know what he's going to do. These are officers who are trained the same training that the Baltimore City Police Department receive by the Maryland Police Training Commission, MPTC. It's the same training, the same exact training. And so I don't understand, you can't even discuss what type of training or really, you know, make a comment to talk about the kind of training that the officers get, because it's the same training that's certified by the state of Maryland. So these officers are actually certified to be officers, enforce the law, and carry a weapon and make arrests. They can do all of that. Police powers. But yet they can't carry a gun. So basically we're paying 90 officers, male and female officers, $60,000 to $70,000 a year to really be exterior security guards. That's what we're paying them to do. That doesn't make good economic sense, doesn't make sense on the safety side. And so, you know, I just wanted to kind of discuss that issue tonight with you guys. I haven't been on in a few months, trying to get back on a regular basis, but there's other duties that I have to do to take care of my family. So, you know, we all have jobs, and so this is what I do on the side. Now, having said that, let's see. Okay, so, you know, I'm a product of the Baltimore City school system early on. You know, I went to elementary school, junior high school in Baltimore City. And I have a mom who I lost a few months ago, who spent 35 years in the Baltimore City school system as a teacher, and eventually she became a principal. And she's a principal at 3 or 4 different schools. And it was always the worst schools in the city that she was a principal at. And so back then, you had school resource officers, but you didn't have, you know, kids bringing weapons to school. That was unheard of. Even when I was in school, it was kind of unheard of that somebody brought a weapon to school. And in fact, if somebody got found with it, was a big, huge, tell me, it was a big deal when somebody brought, if somebody, you know, brought a handgun to school. The city council, my position is the city council has not thought this thing through. In fact, when they held the meeting January 22nd with family members, school board members, and some students were there, you had some students who certainly didn't represent the whole student body of all Baltimore City Schools city students who were there, who basically voiced their opinion that they didn't want guns in school, but yet they couldn't cite reasons to not have them. And so, you know, it just kind of, you know, made the situation even worse when it came down to those who were serious about having a voice at this particular meeting not really be heard, because the students really basically took over at some point. And so the meeting was abruptly adjourned, and the vote took place after everybody went home, and it was 10-0. So some say that because of the students being adamant about not having guns in school probably swayed the city council members to vote no guns in school at 10-0 vote. Okay. Let me tell you something. Children, I don't even call them children. Teens really, they respect adults when adults kind of respect them in terms of looking out for their safety, protecting them, because that's our job, to protect our children, to protect our students. Lots of times the kids don't really get a say in terms of not being protected, because you have to have some measure of protection in the school, because schools are open environments. I still find it hard to believe that somebody can still walk on campuses this day and age, particularly in the city, and just walk in there, you know, unchallenged, unannounced, and, you know, get as far as this person got, and shoot somebody in the face. So even if, I'm going to play devil's advocate. Okay, the officers don't get weapons. Okay, if they're not going to get weapons, then maybe we need to think about somebody locking the door of the school so that, you know, nobody can gain entry. You know, if you can just walk up to any school with a gun and there's no challenge and there's no hardening of that particular target, no locks that are, you know, not penetratable, then that's a problem. It's a huge problem. And so I don't know what it's going to take. I think Lieutenant Boatwright, the person who's in charge of the city school police officers, you know, he made a couple statements on the news a few weeks back before the vote, you know, right after the vote, as a matter of fact. And he said it's going to take a serious incident on school property in the city before city council wakes up and understands that people have to be challenged. Armed individuals have to be challenged and confronted right then and there. First responders. A school resource officer is a first responder because 9 times out of 10, they're going to get the call first before the Baltimore City Police Department gets the call. It's going to come over their radio. They have an armed suspect. Okay, so if they happen to arrive there before the Baltimore Police Department's arrived there, what do? Stand outside and wait to go in while somebody's in there shooting everybody up? Well, we've heard about incidents like that down in Stoneman Douglas, down in Florida, where the resource officer failed to enter in that building and do his due diligence and, you know, take the suspect out. He failed to do it. His backup failed to go in. So, you know, I'm like this. I'm a firm believer. If you don't want to do this job as a police officer, knowing what this job entails, then turn in your gun and badge, because kids and their parents are depending on you when that call comes out for you to get there and for you to neutralize that suspect. And so, you know, it's going to take really police departments to start, you know, firing officers who really don't deserve to be on the department at some point. You know, I don't expect a 35-year veteran who might be a school officer to have the same instincts as someone that's 25 or 35-year-old on a police department. Statistics bear that out. So, no, they don't need to be school resource officers to be the first responders. They need to have young folks in there, you know, who are aggressive and, you know, can go in and do their job. That's just my position on it. You guys will let me know, I'm sure, in the comments section. So I wanted to keep it short because I just wanted to talk about that. You know, I have some other stuff to talk about. But yeah, so I mean, it's just I still, again, I'm just bewildered by the fact that, you know, we don't want to protect kids in this city, and these kids need protection, and they look to grown-ups, adults, you know, who are in positions of power to make a common sense decision based upon all the information that they have. And they basically had more information for police officers being armed in the school system than not. And so we'll just wait to see, you know, kind of what happens. This whole thing's going to play out, particularly after the shooting today. So once again, my name is Mike McCormick. I'm with Advanced Criminology, and I'll see you guys next time.